Hi everybody, this is Sid. I just had a quick thing to say before this video gets started. I'm literally in my room recording this on my phone. I literally just had like an epiphany. So for the last 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks at this point, I have just been procrastinating this video. I've been like, the drama's over, it's done. There's no need for me to even say anything or speak on this because there's essentially nothing to talk about anymore. It's kind of just at a standstill. It happened, it's over. But then I started thinking about it, and I realized what I have to say in this video goes beyond drama. What happened in the situation goes beyond drama. It is a reflection of a bigger issue in our society, one I'll get into in the rest of this video. So with that being said, enjoy. In the words of Radio Rebel,
check it out. Vibe it. Really, really dig on it. And then, remember that feeling.
Hello everybody, my name is Sid, and welcome back to Sid for Short.
Where the hell have you been, Loca?
It has been the hottest of minutes, honestly. It's funny because in my last video, I was talking about how much time had passed between the video I did before that and the video I was doing then, and now a good amount of time has passed between that video and this one that you're watching right now. Here's the thing, my last video, I was so proud of it, and I'm so proud of the comments I received. This freaking lawnmower is gonna kill me.
Anyways,
I don't think they're moving anytime soon. Life happens. Just run out of time. And so any downtime I had did not go to doing more work. What the heck? Even though I do enjoy like writing scripts and like doing research, it does take a lot of time and energy, especially because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So anytime I wasn't doing work or filming or applying to jobs or trying to move, was dedicated solely to watching YouTube videos. I was inhaling Amberlynn Reid compilations and Dance Moms compilations as well. And then I was just watching all the commentary videos. I was watching Drew Gooden, a bunch of other people whose names I can't remember right now, but I'll put them up on the screen. And I was watching a lot of Cody Ko. Yeah. Whoopsie daisy. Now, I'm not gonna beat you over the head with details because at this point, everybody knows.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
Beyond what happened with Tana, again, allegedly.
allegedly, we're saying,
Which is the biggest piece of information that people are kind of focused on right now. There was another piece of information that came along with this that bothered me a lot. Now, the following information is from an article published in the News and Observer by Jane Stankill. In 2019, a federal judge dismissed a lawsuit against Duke University, filed by a former student. Following an alleged assault that took place in 2011, the student, who later reported that she had been drugged and then violated by 2 students, who also documented their assault on videotape, contended that the university was deliberately indifferent and negligent in its response to these allegations, ultimately leading her to transfer to another school due to the hostile educational environment she was now forced to inhabit. An environment sponsored in part by Colby Leachman, who, even under their own version of the facts, behaved horribly to the woman and at least one other woman. Prior to any court case, Duke's Associate Dean of Students initiated his own investigation into the incident. But at the time, the woman did not want to be involved or talk about what happened. And she ended up actually taking a leave of absence the next semester. Later, after deciding she wanted to follow up with a disciplinary case, Duke's Office of Student Conduct initiated disciplinary proceedings against the men. Say that 10 times fast. There was not a preponderance of evidence that the men had violated Duke's sexual misconduct policies. Leachman entered a plea of responsibility that he violated Duke's policy with regard to unauthorized surveillance and photography and was placed on probation. So, what we've gathered from the evidence, at worst, Colby Leachman, At best, Colby Leachman is the type of person to film women in vulnerable positions without their consent. Does that sound like someone you'd want to associate yourself with? Kodiko seems to think the answer is yes. If you're like me and have an affinity for the Oscar-winning screenplay Promising Young Woman, it's likely that you're making a few connections in your head. The Duke case is eerily similar to Nina's, the filming, the negligence of the university, all that jazz. But we know by now that Promising Young Woman is not based on nothing. It didn't appear from thin air, you know? So these connections aren't surprising. But there was something else that Promising Young Woman talks about that I feel like is very prevalent, not just in the case, but with Kodiko's involvement with Kobe Leachman that we're gonna get into today. That's what this video is about here.
Oh my God. Whoa, this is insane. Right, holy shit.
Now, one of the big twists in Promising Young Woman comes when Cassie gets the footage of Nina's assault. Cassie pretty much needs this footage to confirm what she already knows deep down, and so she can bring her friend to justice. I really like this scene because we see her shaking with like an overwhelming sense of anticipation as she realizes that she's about to see a video of her friend in a terrifying position, a position that would go on to change the course of both of their lives for good. As the video plays, she can barely watch. It's uncomfortable for her, it's uncomfortable for the audience, and then, boom, we hear Ryan's voice. This new life that Cassie has imagined for herself and allowed herself to believe in comes crashing down. I'm sure everyone reacted to this the exact same way.
Oh, he was the nice guy.
Ryan, played in the movie by Bo Burnham, is introduced as a certified nice guy. He works with kids. He's bumbling yet earnest in his attempts to court Cassie, who at first is very leery of starting any kind of relationship. But as the movie goes on, you start to feel like things are kind of falling into place. They have good chemistry, they banter. The pharmacy scene is just so iconic, and it really encapsulates everything that kind of like girls fantasize about: having a soulmate, having someone who will take care of you and you can rely on. And Cassie even goes on to introduce Ryan to her parents. So I would wager to say she's pretty serious about him. One of the most heartbreaking lines in the movie that is written so well and delivered so well comes from Cassie's dad. He's talking about Nina and he says, "She was like a daughter to us. We really miss her. But God, have we missed you." You get the sense that Cassie is sort of coming back into herself, that she's becoming the Cassie her parents have missed, that her family wants to see get better and move on from this tragedy they all have suffered. So it's very upsetting when we find out that Ryan was actually there the night of Nina's assault. Not only was he there, he saw it happening and he didn't do anything to stop it. He laughed. He was making a joke out of it like everybody else there. And up until this moment, when Ryan is exposed, we are led to believe that he is one of the good ones. He's a nice guy. But are we really led to believe that? There are a number of hints throughout the movie that you can't trust pretty much any of the men in Promising Young Woman. And the first one comes at the opening scene. As the movie starts, the words F her are like the first things we hear out of anybody's mouth. Three men are sitting at a bar talking, I guess, about a female colleague. And they're complaining that this female colleague is ruining the way they do business because she's not allowing them to go golfing anymore. They can't take their clients out to golf. Now, this is when the third friend kind of establishes himself as someone with a little more cultural awareness. He suggests to the men, he doesn't say flat out, but he suggests to the men that maybe the woman doesn't want us to take our clients out golfing because the golf club doesn't allow women to golf. Now, not only is that a maybe, it's a definitely yes. Yes, but ultimately, even though he's correct, his opinion ends up being dismissed. And he kind of wraps up the conversation by settling it in favor of the other two men, even though he knows there are flaws in their perspective. When they catch sight of Cassie pretending to be drunk at the club, he doubles down on this good guy persona by offering to help Cassie find her phone and find her car. It's all the things you're supposed to do, and it's definitely better than what the two men were suggesting prior to this moment. But somewhere along their journey in the car, this guy decides that he has some sort of connection with Cassie. You can kind of see in his eyes where he sort of decides that, like, oh, maybe this girl is into me. Maybe there's something here. And he asked the Uber driver to reroute to his place. Now, I'll give him a no. Now, he does ask Cassie if she wants to come over before he makes this decision, but Cassie is clearly not in any state of mind to be making decisions like that. When they make it to his apartment, this good guy starts making moves on her. He's calling her beautiful, moving her hair out of her face. You know, all this classic romance BS that guys think will magically make whatever they do next okay. And we see the same tactic reinforced whenever Cassie moves on to her next target. This might be a reach, but I honestly think this first guy is here to warn us about Ryan. He is socially aware of how misogynistic his friends sound, and he actually sets out to help Cassie. And it isn't until he's convinced that they're having like a meet cute moment that he invites her back to his place. And you can see also in the scene, I think, a cool little detail. Once he gets her into the bed, okay, this is so awkward for me to talk about. You can see him kind of pandering to her, you know, trying to do all the things he thinks she should like. You know, guys in their head, if they're doing something that's making the woman feel satisfied, that there's nothing wrong with that. You know, he's not pleasuring himself first. He's not doing it for himself first. It might be reached, but I think that whole thing is a little hint. Let's talk about the actual meet cute.
Can I get a coffee, please?
What happened to hello? How are you? My name is.
The establishing shot for this scene is actually really, really interesting to me. Cassie is dressed up in these very girly florals, and she's got a lollipop in her mouth and ribbons in her hair, and the camera pans her entire figure, kind of telling us to make note of what she's wearing. Something that we can infer about Cassie at this point is she seems to kind of dress up and kind of fit the vibe of the club, and she kind of matches the vibe of the guy that she's targeting. So it's interesting to me that she's got the same characteristics of a little girl when Ryan, the pediatrician, comes in.
Yeah, he's terrible, Your Honor. He's really terrible.
You could call it a reach, but he even makes a joke later that I think was purposeful when him and Cassie are on their first date and he's talking about the height difference between them. So weird and so cringy. And to double down on my theory of her costume being a deliberate choice for this scene, we see the same choice made, this pan up establishing shot of somebody's body when Cassie is at the high school surrounded by adolescents.
Call the police. We need to call the police.
After talking to Cassie for all of 5 seconds, Ryan immediately asks her on a date. Like, he jumped straight to going on a date. And after this date, he leads her back to his house. And this is like one of the clearest red flags, and the one that I think even Cassie herself recognized and was like, peace out, Girl Scout. One of the first words out of Ryan's mouth was too soon. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. I don't think there was any mistakes made on Cassie's part, even though clearly we see later that she thinks there was. After she kind of freaks out about that moment, we see this small scene where Cassie's sitting on the bed and she's playing with the scrunchie that she uses to hold together the little notebook where she writes down her victims, I guess you can call them. To me, it kind of feels like she's contemplating his place in this book, contemplating his place as one of the bad guys. But ultimately, she does decide to meet him again and sets boundaries so that they can take things slow. One of the more prominent red flags that I'm surprised a lot of people didn't kind of have sticking in their head or feel like it was weird or worry about was the fact that Ryan is still associated with the bad guys from med school. The main one being Al Monroe, who was the main perpetrator in Nina's assault. We hear Ryan saying things like, they're not too bad. And when he's talking about Al specifically, he's like, oh, classic Al, God help the woman he's gonna marry. Again, just like the guy in the first scene, he clearly knows that these people are wrong, but he still decides to associate with them for whatever reason. Another small red flag that I noticed with Ryan's character specifically throughout the movie is his choice of words. First of all, he kind of establishes that he has this like dark, edgy sense of humor, and it's endearing at first. And I think Cassie also shares that sense of humor, so we kind of just write it off. The second time I watched the movie, I was like, huh.
It's getting weird.
After Cassie apologizes for getting caught at the club with Fedora Guy, Ryan actually comes and asks Cassie,
"Do you want to go to dinner, you miserable asshole?"
Again, you know, it's cute, but also in the context of knowing who Ryan is now, I'm kind of like, you know, when he's declaring his love for Cassie in the bed, the same thing happens. You know, we kind of, you know, think it's funny. We write it off. Again, he's kind of established his dark, edgy sense of humor, but we don't care. But I also think there's something to be said about people who kind of jump towards this sort of humor, this sort of like edgelord kind of thing that's going on. I'm like, also, my sister watched the movie for the first time ever when I was watching this movie for the third time. And when he said that last line, she was like absolutely shocked. She was like, what? And she didn't even know what was about to happen yet. She didn't even know what was coming to her. So take that as you will. Now the big one. Once he's confronted with what he did, he doesn't attempt to apologize. He doesn't own up to the fact that he was there. He's ready to lie. He has a chance to maybe come clean. I don't think Cassie would have forgiven him either way, but he has a chance to maybe come clean, maybe say that he'll follow through and do the right thing. Instead, he defends himself, saying, I was a kid. He defends the men that he was with, and he just begs Cassie to not think of him as a bad person. He does nothing to address his behavior. He just wants to be forgiven for it. And when none of those tactics work, instead of finally then deciding he is going to make the change, that he's going to change for Cassie, he decides to let the facade slip and just let the relationship go altogether.
Then we both won't be doctors, you fucking failure.
Nice.
Don't be fucking rude. Are you kidding me? I swear to God.
Now this one's kind of like a bonus round red flag, but there was a little detail I noticed with the father and the detective. When Cassie goes missing after she attends Al's bachelor party, her mother is insisting that she's nervous for Cassie. She doesn't know what could have gone wrong. I think she says something along the lines of like, everything was going fine. And her father kind of says, well, you know, suggests that she wasn't necessarily in her right mind. The detective takes this suggestion and runs with it. And so when he goes to meet Ryan and ask him about Cassie's whereabouts, he full out, you know, tells him her father seemed to think she wasn't mentally stable. And Ryan echoed the same thing. That to me was just a little hint into the fact that systematically men will always be just the slightest bit detached from what makes them complicit in a lot of situations. It reminds me a lot of this documentary on Netflix, American Nightmare, with like the Gone Girl case that happened, when everyone was ready to jump down this woman's throat and suggest that she was lying about being kidnapped. We're saying she wasted resources and all of this junk just because they had seen the movie Gone Girl. And we're like, oh, well, women equal crazy, so she had to be crazy. Like, there's no way they had got, like, come on. To circle back, I think it's safe to say that men will almost always tell on themselves. When Ryan mentions that he is still friends with these people from med school, why didn't that set off alarms for Cassie? How could she ever have let her guard down with someone like that? And the answer is the bar is so low, the bar is touching the floor, that we have come to expect at least a little bit of complicit behavior from men.
You know, that's just my opinion. Everybody got an opinion, everybody got something to say,
Relationships and friendships with men can often feel like a liability. Even if they themselves have done nothing wrong, their record is completely you know, just free of sin. You can assume that it's not too far off that they probably know somebody who has done something wrong. And it starts to make you wonder, where do they draw the line? Why would anyone remain associated with somebody who, by their own standards, behaved horribly towards a woman who was accusing them of an unthinkable act? And you can argue that over time these people have changed. Men change, they mature. They no longer are holding on to the childish things they did, like assault people and say the N-word. But I think if people were truly maturing, they would come out and condemn the actions of themselves and the actions of others. Sure, Cody Ko can't address the Tana allegations because he could get his citizenship revoked. And I'm not saying he has to come out and speak out about it, but I think if he really was one of the good guys, he would condemn the actions of his friend, and he would condemn the actions that he participated in that aren't exactly a crime in the law, and he would not have associated with this man further. Something like that, to me, is unforgivable. And I would not want to continue a friendship with him. When Cassie found the video and confronted Ryan about his complicity, we saw his true colors. How long was he going to stay friends with the people from Forest? Would he have changed with Cassie? Would he have vowed to be a better man? What else has he done or been complicit to? What else was he hiding for himself and for others? And it all makes me wonder, what else are we missing about Cody Ko?
You ate that.
But yeah, that's it for today's video. I really felt strongly about this subject, and I will continue to feel strongly about this subject. I also love just analyzing movies and pop culture, and so the fact that I got to kind of bring them together, I hope I get to do more things like this in the future. And if you want to see more content like that, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think, let me know if you found any other red flags in Promising Young Woman, let me know if you think I'm completely off, if you think I just am not making sense, but just be kind, please, 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 please. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.